So today I have a few goals with these fig trees. First, I'm going to shape some of them, like the one on the very end that I lost. Next, I'm going to prune off any suckers that I see coming out of the base. Next, I'm going to, well, no, that goes under shaping. Next, I'm going to top them off with a little bit of compost fertilizer and azomite. And I would also add worm castings because I have worm bins in my garage, but I just haven't harvested them yet. And the last task is going to be adding tulle to every single tree just to try and protect the figs that are on there so that we can try some of them before the birds do. And to do that, I'm going to be using this tool that I bought. I actually bought several packages of this, but I'll talk about that in a minute. There's so much to do in so little time because the sun goes down a lot faster now. Oh, so the first thing I'm going to focus on is just topping the trees. To do that, I saw spider webs on here, so I was kind of scared that there might be actual spiders. So to top off the trees, I'm going to be using some compost. You can use homemade compost, mushroom compost, you can use manure if you have that, whatever you want. But into the compost, I'm going to add azomite. That way it can add some more trace minerals to the soil so that these little trees can have everything they need to continue growing and producing. Oh, should I bring you closer? This is what azomite looks like. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in there. And I'm just going to mix everything up in here, and then I'll distribute it amongst the trees. That way I don't have to mix it every single time. And I'm also going to add some citrus tone from Espoma. This is just my go-to. And I'm just going to add a good amount in there. Wait, where's my shovel? Hold on, let me go find my shovel. Now I'm just going to start mixing this together. Once my compost is mixed up, I'm going to start topping off these containers. Okay, just like this. There's going to be a couple of dried leaves on there and some leftover mulch, but a lot of it has already broken down. As you can see, there's like a really thin layer on there, and on the very top of the soil are a lot of the feeder roots of the tree, which are these roots right here. They kind of just reside over the top and they help to bring in some of those nutrients. So that's why I want to top it off. So I'm not going to remove any of this. I'm just going to add my compost right on top of there. And because I mixed my fertilizer and azomite in, I don't need to scratch it into the soil. Instead, I just add a couple inches to the very top, and then I press that in, and then I'll just add my drip. I don't have any additional mulch right now, so I still need to pick some up, but at least they will be topped off with more nutrients. And this will hopefully help to ripen up those figs as well, especially over the summer that these little trees just survived. So you see, just like that. It's really only about 2 inches of compost that I'm adding. But that should be perfect for feeding these little trees. because I don't want to suffocate any of those feeder roots. And then once I'm done, I just lay my irrigation back down, and I use landscape staples to keep it in place. I like to keep it coiled up, that way it can water the whole container evenly. And then once I add the mulch on top, that'll help to cover up some of the drip irrigation and protect that from the sun as well. Okay, but that one's done. So on to the next one. I turn on the lights so just in case it gets dark too fast, but I have some gloves here because I'm going to be pruning this fig tree, but the fig tree itself is not asleep yet. I want to shape it now so that as it continues growing, it grows into a nicer shape, versus all of this is going to be too much for a 15-gallon container if I let every single shoot turn into its own trunk. So before I prune anything, I'm going to disinfect my tools with some alcohol. So I'm disinfecting those and my loppers. These are my loppers. Okay. Oh, that smells pretty strong. So all of this is dyed back, and I'm going to show you how you can tell. First of all, it's really dry. Like if I go like this, I can just snap it off. And if you look on the inside, there's no green in there. It's all dried up. Another way to tell is you can do the scratch test. I'm going to do it with the pruners here, but you can see it's just white right there. There's no green. If there was green, that would show that there's still life in the tree, but in this case, this whole portion is dead. So I need to get down to the very base, but so I'm going to come down all the way to the base down here, and I'm going to chop it off. And here's what the tree looks like. But that's okay because it's still alive. The roots were still able to re-sprout, and we're still going to get something from it. So now I'm going to come through and I'm going to select what I want my main trunk to be. And I'm going to start pruning away anything else that I don't want to keep. One thing I could do is take all of these and try and propagate them, but honestly, I have so many trees that I don't want. I have so many fig trees I don't really need anymore. And I usually like to propagate them in the winter time once the trees actually go dormant. One thing you might notice is that there's some white liquid pooling on there, and that will really irritate your skin. So that's why I'm making sure to wear gloves while doing this. But I'm going through and just getting rid of all the little shoots that are coming out of here, because there's multiple and I don't want to keep all of them. I really just want one main trunk coming out of this tree, and then I'll let that trunk branch out and all of that, but first I need just one trunk to stay. So I think I'm going to leave the one right in the center. So I'm just coming around and cutting all of these off. I think I want this one. So, okay. And this is the one that I'm gonna keep. Oh my gosh, look how teeny tiny it is right now. This shoot is coming from the very base of the trunk down here. So I might even try and cut it down a little bit more. Let me see if I can. There we go. So this is all that's gonna be left. Oh my gosh, and there's so many feathers. I don't know why there's so many. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. Just like the other tree, I'm gonna pull up all of the drip irrigation. Something else that I could have done with this tree is also just cut it back until I saw green. But you can even see down here that a portion of the trunk got some of like the sun damage, on it. So I just want to start fresh with this one shoot. Plus because this is all new wood, I feel like by next year it's going to be several feet taller, and in no time it's going to catch up to the rest of the trees. So now that I have all my irrigation off, I'm going to leave the rest of this on here. Hi, Mr. Levi. And I'm going to top it off. And I'm going to top it off with compost. Dun, 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 dun. Uh-oh, I'm making a mess. Okay. Let's top it off right there. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, now that I have it on there, I'm gonna press it down. And that should definitely help this little tree start catching up. Let me add a little bit more. I know usually whenever people plant trees in containers, they leave about 2 inches from the top, that way they can water them in. But because mine are set up on drip irrigation, I don't really have to do that. Plus over time, a lot of the organic matter breaks down, and that allows me to continue topping it off year after year. Okay, and now I can reattach my drip. So usually I used to feed my trees every month, but this year I skipped a few months because the heat waves that we were having in the low desert were just way too dangerous. And usually it's kind of time consuming feeding every single tree because I have so many of them. Right there. But they seem to be doing pretty good, especially since these were root pruned and they had fresh soil put in. Okay, but there we go. There's a little tree, oh my goodness, look at it. It'll bounce back in no time. Now I'm gonna be repeating that exact same process for the rest of the fig trees, but I just wanted to show you those 2 examples so that you can see how I prune off any suckers and how I actually add the compost and all of that. But I'm gonna hurry up and try to get the rest of these done because the sun is gonna go down soon. And maybe I'll chat with you as I do it. Some containers have significantly less soil than others. They definitely settle down a lot more. One thing that I try and keep in mind with any fruit tree that I have in the garden is anytime there are dry leaves or the deciduous trees drop their leaves, I don't like to just throw them away. I like to use them as mulch because those over time will break down and continue adding organic matter to the soil. And it's important to mulch these trees, especially during the hottest parts of the year, with any sort of organic matter, dry leaves, straw, wood chips, to protect the soil and keep it from drying out much faster than it should, because containers tend to do that, especially here in the low desert. It's really hard to keep them moist. Okay, let me go again. Okay. Oh, you know what else I feel contributed to these trees staying alive during the summer, despite it being one of the hottest summers here in Arizona? the low desert of Arizona, is that I changed the watering. Oops. Because I try and follow other gardeners here in the low desert, because that way I can see what's working for them and I can learn a lot of tips and tricks from them. Because I'm still a brand new gardener. I started gardening August of 2020, but I figured I would apply the same thing to all of my container fruit trees. Instead of giving them deep watering, I started giving them more frequent waterings during the hottest parts of the day. So in my case, I believe I was watering them at 10 a.m., 12 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. I gave them a few minutes of water each session, and I feel like the trees started bouncing back like crazy. I think that's when they started pushing out more leaves because they weren't drying out quite as fast. Before that, I noticed that early in the mornings, they looked beautiful. They had enough water, they looked happy, but by the middle of the day, they looked super, super droopy. And by the end of the day, they were even more droopy, more sad looking. And once the sun went down, they would barely start perking up a little bit. And then the next day, it would just repeat all over again. And once I started watering them more often, I noticed that the trees stopped drooping completely. Because during the hottest parts of the day, they were getting a little sip of water versus being drowned in water once a day and then having to make that last for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? The reason I think that worked for containers is because whenever I give them one deep water, some of that water gets absorbed, but a lot of it just drains out. But then watering them less but more frequently made it so that the tree was actually able to drink a lot of that water and not and I wasn't wasting so much. Sorry, let me keep working so that I don't get distracted, because I feel like I just want to stop and just talk to you. But I think that's why it works so well, because the trees weren't thirsty and having to wait until the next watering. They were getting little sips here and there to keep them happy and strong during the hottest parts of the day. So I definitely noticed a huge improvement, and it made me also save on water because I wasn't having to use quite as much. Oh, dang, this one was really on there. Okay. Okay. Oh, that was just a fig. I was like, what did I just make pop? Currently, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Currently, I have 10 figs in the garden, and they're all in this little fig alley. And once I moved this container over here, I was like, you know what? I could fit more containers and grow more food. But if I do add any more containers over here, I think that's going to be more so for annuals versus trees, because I feel like I have enough fig trees right now. There is probably like 1 or 2 varieties that I really want to try, but I feel like I would have to swap some of these out. My dream is to one day have a couple of acres of land so that I can plant as many trees as I want. And ideally, I would want to plant a bunch of them in ground to get experience learning how to do that, because I kind of know how to grow trees in containers now. And I feel like personally for me, it's a lot easier to grow things in containers. I feel like I have way more control. I can give the trees basically what they want to stay happy, versus in the soil, I feel like they would have way more space, but it would definitely be a learning curve for me. And one of my biggest goals with gardening is just to learn as much as I can. In 3 years, I feel like I've learned so much, but I'm barely scratching the surface of everything that gardening entails. So if I had acres of land, I feel like I would be able to plant even more and grow even more. And I know that the sun is starting to go down already, so I don't know if I'm gonna finish all of this tonight. I'll try, but I have no idea if I'll get to it. Next one. want to hurry up and go inside. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm feeling a little scared because this is when the critters start coming out. Just getting all of these. One, two, three, four, five. I still have 5 trays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I barely done 5. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna try and get a couple more of them done, but as soon as the sun goes down, I'm heading back inside. Before I do that, I'm gonna cover this tree back up because I'm scared the birds are gonna wake up before I do, and I don't want them to take all of my figs. Oh, wait. I was able to finish 5 of the fig trees. I still have 5 left, but the sun is going down and I'm heading inside because I'm way too scared to stay out here once the sun goes down because there's a rat that's been coming into the garden and I still haven't caught it yet, and I know that rats come out at dusk and dawn and I don't want to risk running into it, so I'm going to finish up the rest of this tomorrow.